there's a degree of planning and time needed, isn't there, that goes
Yes.
into a church plant, of, assessing who's going to come with you, assessing where you're going to go, assessing and identifying, where do I play for my strengths, where do you play for your strengths, and identifying gifting and deploying. And then there's this friendship and this building together that has to happen as well before you go out there as well. So it's not a rush job, is it? And there's not kind of one model, but all of those things are going on, and there is a role that church administrators or operations directors or those people with those skills we're talking about that can bring to that just helps the whole process become much more smoother.
A really good point, Gavin, and one that, I've been in leadership roles now for 30, 35 years. And one of the things that I suppose I'm still learning is don't rush anything.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to make snap decisions and whatever. But in terms of projects and planning and some of these things we're talking about, and church planting is a perfect example where you're talking about a massive, multi-dimensional effort. It is if you were to give it a Gantt chart, it would go to 2 or 3 pages because there's so much involved in the process. I was listening to Jen's podcast on the Olympics, and when we planned the gathering, and I remember sitting in those meetings with her with her big, massive charts. But if we didn't do that, it wouldn't have gone as well.
Great. Yeah, that's right.
So I don't think we should be afraid of it. Now, the church is a lot messier, and it can be a bit untidy sometimes. I remember when Christ Church started, we were like nomads going from school to school, trying to find a home, trying to find a base. Setting up the chairs. Sometimes the mics didn't work. You're setting up, or you're trailing the leads, across the school floor and whatever. So church is messy, and much as you try and organise stuff, if you haven't got all the resources or all the people, it's really uncomfortable. But don't worry about that. You can still have a degree of organisation. Look for the people. Find the people that are able to say, yes, I know it's a bit messy, but at least I know the wires have to be trailed across the floor. At least I know that we need to set up a little mini desk. At least I know we've got to pay the rent on this. At least I know we've got to have a look at the contract with the local authority to hire the school. Because if you don't do all that stuff, you're going to get bitten in the bum, to be honest. Something will come back and bite you.
And those things all facilitate the gospel going out. And if you make the connection, sorting out the insurance and ensuring that it's safe, ensuring that we've got the venue, and the heating's on in the venue, all those things affect actually the person who's listening to the gospel, in that moment.
They're going to come back again if they feel it is comfortable. If the heating is on, they might come back the next time. If it isn't on, they probably won't.
And in the early days, what you're talking there as well, it's really challenging to bring excellence into every single area of the church plant and all the different things that you want to bring. But actually, how can we remove some of the obstacles that are there to the end goal of we want to tell people about Jesus? And so, we'll look at those major obstacles first. And, if you're in your church and you've got some of the skills and you haven't been recognised, then talk to your pastor about these things. Do you know what? I'm good at organising things. I'm good at setting stuff up. Go and offer yourself to your pastor. I'd love to see people do that in a voluntary way. Don't wait to be asked as well.
Yeah. Well, Gav, you and I have both grown up in this church, and we started off doing the little jobs. Yeah. We started off doing small things and doing it for our elders, our pastors, or whatever. It might be just organising the kids' meeting. So it might, it might be a relatively small thing in a relatively small situation, but that's okay. That's how you learn. I've got some junior members of staff. And they want to grow and they want to learn, and so I'm giving them small projects to work on because they've got to learn. I did, I think the first ever, house group that I led, there was like 6 or 7 people in it, and including me and Norma, and it wasn't very good. And if there are any members of that group, I do apologise.
They still remember it.
They still bear the scars. But you see, my point is, you start off with little stuff. So I think, your point about making the offer, your elder, your pastor, your leader, is this, it's going to do his heart,
it's going to really
his
bless
or her
them.
heart
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
to have that offer,
Yeah.
you know, from you,
Yeah.
because they've probably got a million ideas, a million things they want to do, because they're good at vision, they're good at stuff like that, but they know that maybe we can't do all of this stuff. And so when someone is stirred by God to serve, then that's an answer to their prayer as well.